Swadikap and hello everyone. My name is Itipat. I am the moderator today. So I'm delighted to welcome you today to the webinars on Achieving Customer Experience Excellence, a data-driven approach. Our objective today is to provide you valuable insights how organizations can achieve customer experience excellence with a data-driven approach. So we will discuss today about essential customer experience management best practices with framework and tools, and also the sharing insight from our top performers based on our KPMG customer experience survey in 2022, and also how important of the data-driven approach for organizations to adopt and take in order to help achieve customer experience excellence. So today we have a fantastic lineup of speakers who will share their perspective on this subject. 3 speakers with us today, including myself, Itipat, Partner Advisory from KPMG Thailand, Data and Technologies. We have Phúc Nguyen, Partner and Head of Customer and Operation from KPMG Vietnam, and Khun Thosapon, Advisory Director from Technology Innovation from KPMG Thailand. So before we proceed to the next session, I would like to remind our audience today, we encourage you to actively participate in these webinars. So if you have any question related to our discussion, please feel free to drop into your own chat box. And our staff will collect all the questions and put it together into the Q&A session at the end. So before we deep dive into the context of the customer experience management and frameworks with the real-life example, let's start with a simple question for our audience first. So when you think about this brand, for example, what is your first customer experience excellence that come across in your mind? The pillar that we would like you to select is taken from our KPMG Experience Excellence report. We're going to explain in detail in the next session. But first, please take a moment for 20 seconds to reflect about your own experience to those pillars: personalization, time, effort, expectation, integrity, resolution, and empathy. We're waiting for your answer in the polls. I'd like to draw attention to this is example of the voice of customer that we've taken from our surveys, that you can see they have all mix of aspects of the customer experience pillars in use of this brand, for example. So please reflect your own experience when you use of this brand, and we would like to see that what's the common experience look like about this brand. I might say, relating to my own experience about this brand, personalization is one. When I visit to the shop, the barista always recall my name and then write my name over the cup of coffee. And also expectation. Sometimes I work in the shop, and then barista come to serve some snack, new item, like a surprise. So when you talk about customer experience, that's all the key aspects that we're going to talk about today. Why it's so important for the organization to think about and consider about those and how to measure those pillars to support and help you identify whether you can achieve customer experience according to your journey that you design. So I'd like to hand over to Khun Phúc Nguyen. Him talk about and share about the customer experience management framework of thinking, and with the real-life example from his practice in KPMG Vietnam. So hand over to you, Phúc.
Thank you, Khun Thon. Hello, everyone. So Let me introduce myself first quickly. So my name is Hoek. I'm a partner within KPMG Management Consulting. I lead customer experience practice in Vietnam. So for the last 5 years, I've been working a lot on many digital and CX transformation programs for mostly, Vietnamese large companies or also multinational companies in financial services. So when we talk about CX, normally it goes together with either digital transformation, where it has a component on how they want to improve CX, or they want to do CX transformation, but it also has a component of digital in there. So what I've done in the past is really on CX strategy to design. So designing the future state, how CX should work in the future, all the way down to implementation, where we work with solution providers or software providers to really tell them how it needs to be working in the future. So when we talk about customer experience excellence, it's actually a result that you want to achieve as a company, a result that you achieve customer experience excellence across all the touch points. So it's not something that you take lightly, a project like this. It's very big because it doesn't only cover the front office. It's not only a matter of customer service team or customer experience team. It's really going across the whole organization, from the front office to the middle office and the back office, because the customer doesn't know what's happening. They only know the result of that touch point. But what is really happening is the whole organization behind that is working towards that objective. So it's really actually very transformational if you talk about customer experience excellence. So it's transforming the customer journeys, but also transforming the operating model behind to deliver those journeys. So how we do it is normally have from two perspectives, from an outside-in perspective, but also an inside-out perspective. So can we please move to the next slide? So what is very important in customer experience excellence within your organization is really to get the foundation first. So what is the meaning of customer experience? So we have developed a methodology within KPMG, which we call the 6 pillar of customer experience. And these 6 pillars are the 6 pillars that drive at each touchpoint drive whether it's a good experience or a bad experience. And it's about personalization, it's about integrity, expectations, resolution, time and effort, and empathy. And these 6 pillars, depending on where you are in the journey and depending on which touch point, one of these or 2 of these pillars will depend which one is important at those touch points. So for example, if you're an insurance company, you're selling insurance to a customer, and as a customer you meet that agent, at that touch point, highly likely that integrity will be a very important pillar, or expectations. So those two pillars will drive whether the experience is good or bad. If you are a bank, for example, and you visit a bank, time and effort will become important. And if you, for example, a contact center where customer call when they have a problem, resolution and empathy will become the driving pillar. So it's very important to understand these pillars and understand, how you need to, influence these pillars. But you always start first with understanding your customer. So next page. When you embark on a customer experience excellence journey, you need to understand who is my segment first. Who am I serving? What are their needs? And understanding what are their behaviors. So a lot of companies, they do some sort of segmentation, but the segmentation is mainly based on either transactional. So for example, how much money do they spend? And then they say, okay, this segment spends more than, let's say 1,000 baht with me, 1,000, 2,000. That's the way they segment, or they segment in terms of age, like 40 plus or 40 to 50 years old. But those type of segments doesn't give you really insights of how the customer are, what their needs are, and how they behave. So what we mean by customer segmentation and understanding their persona is really understanding who are they, and also what are their behaviors. So the next slide shows us a methodology that we use to really understand customer deeply. So we call it the 5 mice framework, where we really understand what is the motivation of that customer when they interact with you as a brand. So what is the motivation of the service or buying the product? Do you understand that motivation? What is their attention? So every customer or every segment, they have a certain attention span or attention that draw their attention. So do you understand that attentions of them? Also understanding their connection. Where are they? How do they prefer to communicate with you? Through what kind of channel? Through what kind of connection? And then you need to understand what is their watch. So where are they in the lifetime? Why are they in times of how much they want to spend in time and allocating their time to you? But also understanding their wallet. So they only have one wallet. When do they draw their wallet and how do they just adjust the spending throughout their lifetime? So once you understand these 5 dimensions, then you can draw up a persona that you say, in my business, this is my target segment. This is my the customer base, but within that customer base, there are 3 segments that are key that drives most of my revenue. And those are the key segments that I want to focus on. So the next page will show you a type of a persona that we have developed for a bank in this case. So this is a persona that on the left-hand side you see like more like the demographics data from this customer, but you also see behaviors. What are the needs? What are the issues? How do they connect with you? What are the demands in terms of products and services, and what are the financial demands? So if you have a full picture of a customer segment, and it's very important to get this, because by having this, you then understand how do you need to redesign your journeys, how do you need to redesign your operations in order to serve these customers better. But it's not only serving these customers better, it's also to it's not only about experience, it's really about how to increase loyalty and increase revenue, but also to how can you be more efficient in terms of cost management. So once you have this this picture very clear, you don't need to send mass marketing anymore, for example. You can be very specific to your marketing campaigns and be very targeted to certain segments to offer them the right needs for the right attention. If you go to the next page, once you understand the customer segmentation, then you need to understand how do they interact with you. So each segment have different interaction. In terms of journey, there will be the similar phases, but within those journeys, the touch points, they will have different behaviors and they will have different needs and demands. So you need to understand from your business point of view, whatever sector you are, what are the holistic journeys that they have? How many journeys do you have within that end-to-end view? So the example that you see in front of you is from an insurance company, and insurance companies have around like 20 journeys. But if you're in a different sector, for example, banking, which is more complex in terms of more products, different segments, the journey will become, or the journey atlas will become more complicated, and you will have more journeys. And if you have more different diverse businesses, you have, for example, different sector in your company, then you will have different sets of atlases as well. So if you then move to the next page, so once you understand that overview, that holistic overview of what are the journeys and interactions that your customer have with you and the different segments, you then need to understand for each of those journeys, what are the interaction points and where are the issues within those interaction points. So you need to understand what are the touch points, what are the channels that they prefer, because if you look at one journey, it's not that journey will happen on one channel. Customers will always switch channels even within the same journey. So through what channel are they communicating with you? What is their emotional journey? Are they having pain points? Are they thinking it's good? Are they thinking it's bad? And what is the moment of truth? What is the defining touch point for the customer that they say, okay, this is so good. This defines my experience with this company. And then, of course, you need to understand, what are the process behind each touch point. And once you have that whole overview, you have a very good insight of what is going wrong or what is going well in your organization. So the next page. So that is more an understanding from an outside in view, that you understand from the customer point of view what is happening. You also need to understand within your organization, how are you managing customer experience? What is your customer experience management? So for that one, we also have a framework across 8 dimensions. So for each of these dimensions, you need to understand where you are in the journey. Where do you need to improve? So CX vision and strategy, is that clear? Do you have a CX vision? that is, aligned with your business vision, your business strategy. Then you need to also understand, how do you manage your customer management? So do you have segmentation in place? Do you have journeys mapping? Is it a common practice that you manage journeys instead of processes? You need to look at what are the different channels that you reach out to your customers, and how are you managing those channels. And the term that comes across very often is omnichannel. How do you manage the different, like a customer that goes from channel to channel? How do you get insights of who that customer is, even though they jump from one channel to the other channel? Resource management. How do you manage the resources within your CX practice? How do you do, for example, the training and keep them up to date on what's happening? And how do you upskill them in terms of how do they need to manage the customer? There are a lot of tools and technologies in CX, so CRM, CDP, voice of customer tools. So how are you enabling those tools within your practice? And then you also need to look at reporting and analytics. How do you measure customer experience at the top level of the company, but also how does it flow down to the departments below and to the people below? Do you report on customer experience, the metrics, the KPIs, and how do you, as a company, have insights in what is going on? Data management is very important, and we're going to talk a little bit more on that one later. So when you talk about customer experience, you need to have customer data to manage all the interactions. So customer data management will become very important. Do you have a 360 view of the customer? And then in the end, also all the process below each of the journeys. How do you manage all those processes, and how do you, change them whenever you see there's a problem within the customer, there's a feedback from the customer? How do you quickly then take action to changing your operating model or processes? So these are the dimensions that you need to look at in your company. So there's always an outside-in view, looking at the journeys, getting feedback from the customer, but also looking from an inside-out view. How are you currently managing all these, customer experience management to deliver that excellence? So back to you, Tom.
You folks, I think, are very thoughtful and practical ideas, and also the methodology and framework tool that you share. I like the outside in and inside out, and you mentioned very truly that I totally agree that when customer organization define the customer journey, and the opportunity is there, right? In order to make sure that every step that you create a touch point, you're able to capture the value insight, that you're able to come back and analyze in order to make some insight that you can go back to the customer. Because it's not only for the one angle of the data that you mentioned about spending data, but you need to understand about behavior and issue that your customer face to according to the journey that you design. Yeah. So fantastic, folks. I'd like to move to the next session to hear about what insight that do we find from Thailand survey, from KPMG Customer Experience Excellence. So I hand over to Kun Thosapon to walk us through about what he found.
Okay, thank you. Actually, thank you for the framework and 6 pillar, how we actually see the customer experience at least from KPMG point of view. So in the next section, I'll share you how we actually bring this framework into practice. So we actually use this 6 pillar framework for customer experience survey, basically globally and also including Thailand. Particularly in Thailand, we have approximately 1,000 of respondents who replied to the survey, including 10 different industries and also more than 60 brands included. So from the survey, there are some interesting insights and also some interesting findings that we reflect from the survey that we collect and leverage our framework to identify what are the most important things for the customer experience, especially people in Thailand, right? So let's take a look on 3 different views or different lenses on the survey that we got from this year, 2022, right? From the customer experience point of view, in order to keep customer to be loyal or giving more advocacy, personalization still be the key perspective from customer that keep them to be a part of your brand or keep them stick to the brand. The second one is on time and effort. Time and effort is still a clear driving factor for any customer within Thailand to be able to win their experience. Whatever you go, wherever you go, they need your service or your product fast based on their expectation. And they do it fast for every single industry or the brand might be different, but they just need to be that fast, right? And last one on the customer experience point of view is in order to build them a trust, then you as a brand or the organization, you probably need to have two elements together, personalization and integrity. So where these two things combine together, it will drive the trust to your customer and then keep them stay on your brand and keep them repeating, keep them coming back and repeat your products, right? Let's switch back a bit on the sector lens. So it's quite clear that financial service still dominates in terms of like driving, getting a better customer experience from others industry, right? And this year, I think we have seen a significant improvement, and I would say this one to watch for this year is restaurant and non-grocery retail. They are actually a rising star for this year at least. So they are actually doing quite well for this year for this particular industry. And the last one is on the COVID-19 situation actually impact every single industry in last 2 years. But in this year with the impact of COVID-19 actually boosting some of the industry to become more customer focused, and also as a result, they're actually boosting up their score on customer experience, especially in non-grocery and retail, right? And last one on the customer lens, so connected and also understand them well is still be the key for keeping them with your brand, with your organization and your product and service. So next, let's take a look on who are the winners. So I would say it's not the competition, but who actually gets in top of the customer mind based on our survey, based on the customer experience survey in 2022. Financial service still dominant, as I mentioned earlier. Prudential take the top seat for this year, and KPMG is follower, and Apple, yeah, the one that everyone I believe know Apple very well. And number 4, barbecue pasta or barbecuan. That's might be the nickname for barbecue pasta that everyone I believe in Thailand you know about this restaurant. They have made a big impact to the social media and also the industry. And the rest of the top 10, there's 2 brands that's quite impressive for this year is the Mall and Com7. They are actually the newcomer for this year, and this is something that we probably need to keep an eye on because they are actually driving the differentiation and also improving the customer experience for 2022, right? Okay, so then I'll bring you to some more interesting facts, see how are the top performers doing for last year. So the top seed for us and last year is the Prudential. They're actually the leader in 3 on 6 of the pillars. They're actually being the best in personalization, expectation, and also the resolution. These are the result that we see from the practical survey that we did. And also, not only this, we also see some others giving them the top seat of whatever the company invest and improve in terms of customer experience. They also win the best contact center of the year 2022, and also they also receiving the reward in customer service initiative of the year as well. So this is go through that a huge effort in investing on the digital service, through policy, and through connect to give their customer to be able to connect, and also personalization is one of the top things that Prudential actually giving to the customer, right? So let's move to the other top performers, barbecue passers, or also we can call them like barbecuan. That's a lot of people would like to call barbecue passer barbecuan. So they actually in our top rank for time and efforts, because they are, what we see from the outside, they actually invest quite a lot in terms of driving people in the restaurant to be more service mind, and also driving in terms of developing people in terms of getting the better customer service. And also they have a lot of collaboration with other brands, and also doing quite a lot of innovative way to communicate and connect with the customer. And once people go to their restaurant, right, they have, I would say, I also the customer as well, so very fast service, and also the employee having very good service in terms of like, I don't need to spend much time at the restaurant waiting in a queue, right? So next one, let's move to Marriott. Marriott, even though they are not in top 10, they're actually in top 20 for us. So what Marriott received as the top pillar is the integrity. So that consistency of the service, and also the employee, and also every single people in Marriott try to provide to the customer is the consistency of the service and trustworthy that they're actually giving from the brand and service all over the world. It's not only in Thai. They also have received quite a number of rewards last year, and also they also try to connect with the customer, and also provide the consistency of the service throughout the Marriott customer loyalty program, right? So these are the two top performers in terms of category. And next one is quite interesting as well. This is our the biggest jump for 2022, right? Krungsri was 63rd last year, 2021. And this year, they actually have a big jump to 12th place in our survey. So the customer respond to our survey that there are significant improvement in terms of customer experience. And once we try to learn from what Krungsri did, we've seen a lot of effort and customer experience initiative that they actually put to actions. And then by doing that, they actually got the response in terms of like the biggest improvement in our survey, and also the reward that they received from many institutes. For example, the best digital CX for account opening and customer onboarding, the outstanding CX for loan. So these are the key pillars that they actually improve, and also it result in the biggest improvement in terms of customer experience for 2022. And that's about how we bring all these framework into action, so we can measure using our 6-pillar customer experience framework, where we can understand more how people perceive on our brand, and then you probably can see more how can you improve further to become a better position next year, or keep or retain your position for the next year. So that's on my section. So hand over back to Ton Krab.
So thank you, Khun Thosapon. I think what my observation that I follow this, see the kind of movement of the top performers, right? And we collectively do this for 3 years. We see the movement. That's a good one. Reflection is mean that it cannot be the one. Our customer always unique. So it means like you need to keep analyzing and see that how you can serve them better. And that's why come to my section. I like to talk about the data-driven approach to achieve the customer experience excellence. And already have the reflection taken from the survey that the company that have achieved the customer experience excellent, they try to bring the data, right, and connect to the digitals, because that a way that they can better understand about the customer. So I'd like to draw attention to this about the future of competitive strategy in the future. It will rely on the data-driven customer experience. Why I say this? I have the two reasons on this. Firstly, we are the customer, right? And today, we not only buy the product or services, we also provide a valuable data to the organization or the service providers to understand about our preference and our need better. For example, if you watch the online video over Netflix, or you buy the products over the e-commerce platforms, right? The customer and the information that you share is about your behavior, right? So what kind of movie that you watched, and what time of the day that you normally watch, and what's the spending that you spend the most on the product and services the most on. So the organization who are able to connect this, right? They can analyze and then serve you the better personalized customer experience into the journey and make the delightful experience to you. The second reason, looking from the forward-looking organization, they're moving forward to the digitalization and connected to the digital ecosystem. Why they are doing this? Because they would like to monetize the data, of course, and also consume the wide range of the data set. Going back to example before, right? Organization can use the demographic data of your customer, right, and match with their prospect, right? And then recommend personalize the product or services that someone like you maybe also like it, or vice versa. So that's why the data-driven organization, they will undertake the key steps: collecting data, ingesting data, analyzing data, and draw insight from the data, right? So that is a way that they can able to serve and make insight and offering something more specific to address attention to their customer. So now come to the next slide. Achieving customer experience excellence with the data-driven approach, it also leads to the better data, customer data management. And this has become the, I think, crucial part of organization data strategies. To illustrate this point, we are collected data point from our top performer brands from the surveys, and then we clustering across the sectors to be the two groups. The top performer is in the dark blue colors, and the below performer is on the light blue colors, right? It's obviously we see the positive customer experience of the top performers, right? What that is mean? It means that in this case we collect between the time and effort pillar and personalization. If you think about the nature of the brand, some industry they might not have many touch points, right? But if they would like to make better customer experience, they need to revisit the journey and try to make the meaningful touch point with the customer more quite often. It means that you have the more opportunity to collect more data from your customer, right? And then the more engaged that you can connect with your customer, it's better for you to have the higher quality of the data, right? And then but when it's based on your design, collective touch point, that you need to incorporate, all right, about the data privacy management regulation as well. Because in order to get the trusted data from the customer, all those aspects need to be considered. So achieving customer experience excellence with a data-driven approach, it definitely will lead to the better customer data management. And that should be the crucial part of data strategies. So now, regardless in the organization, whether it's a front office, middle office, or back office, right? You from strategy, marketing team, customer operation, or the finance, HR, and IT. I'd like to use it's essential to focus on the customer experience measurement that previous talking earlier into your identify or defining the use case to unlock the power of data analytics. I like to use analogy of the car, engines, and oils. The car represents your business function. The engine represents the analytics model, and the oils represent the data, right? So if you take our 6 pillar, for example, from that we talked earlier, to define the use case that, of course, not only about increasing the revenues or operational efficiencies, but you need to consider about customer experience as well. Have you ever seen the Iron Man, right? If you remember, you probably remember about Tony Stark or a personal assistant, Jarvis, right? Which is basically is an AI-powered virtual assistant, right? That Tony heavily relies throughout the movies. Why Jarvis is powerful? Because his ability to understand and then respond to the natural conversational language manners. And if you imagine the power of the conversational AI like Jarvis into the common day life, can think about of Alexa or Google Assistant, for example, right? To create a customer experience in the areas such as customer support, customer engagement, HR onboarding process, or IT service management, right? So it's clearly that the AI power capabilities will help you automate the tasks and also create a personalized and more efficient interaction with your customer to have the better customer experience. I believe that AI power in the conversational AIs, it could be the value use case to explore and improve the customer experience. Why? Because 2 reasons. Number one, many organizations is already used or implement the chatbot, but it's clearly that it still have limitation to use of the AIs to truly make them intelligent. So it creates a poor customer experience in the case of frustration to non-meaningful conversation or miscommunication, and then create as a result of the loss of trust in the affected channels. The second reason, I think we reached the tipping point for the AI. If you look at example case recently that we found, we observed exponential growth in the user adoption of the AI power in ChatGPT. Within 2 months, the user adoption started from 1 million to 100 million from December last year, 2022. And on the demand side, we observed the rise in the market revenue of the chatbot, right, from 2018 until 2027. That also have the positive growth. So in KPMG, we have to bring this in the use case, for example, in the call center platform. KPMG UK, we incorporate the real-time voice transcript analytics to the call center. And if anyone experienced with the call center setup and training the staff, you know that it's very hard to make the good call center experience because they need to have the really well training. And with the ability of the AI power, right? If the customer call to complain about some invalid invoice, the AI power can help to detect, right, emotion and sensitive voice, and then suggest the recommended action for the agent to respond, right? Solving the problem is the number one call center service task. And then even better, you turn angry to be happy to also analyze and recommend some new package that could be fit to the behavior of the customer and resolve the problem eventually. So I wrap up these 3 things that I talk about this section. Number one, the future competitive strategy is about data-driven customer experience. And the second, we can use the customer data management as a data strategy to have the better customer data. And then the use case to use all the power of the AI is still need to consider the key measurement of the customer experience into it. So I'd like to move to the next session in terms of the panel discussion. So to start with, I'd like to start with Fuchs because one thing that I very impressive is about Vietnam's as an emerging market country, but we really had an impressive movement in the past over the decade. So I would like to ask you about, from your experience and knowledge, what the reason can we learn from customers in Vietnam that you in KPMG support in delivering the customer experience excellent? And what the strategy or tactics that your customer they employ to achieve such a function in this area?
Okay.
Over to you, folks.
Thank you, Tom. So actually, when we talk about Vietnam as an emerging market and customer experience, the customer experience trends is only like 3 years ago that it really started, but now we see that's really booming because they see that customer is they become more demanding and more companies are starting to develop a better customer experience, and they put that as a core of their strategy. The key success factors, what I see with companies that have embarked on this program or this whole journey on transforming the customer experience, there are a few things. So first of all, I think you need to set the foundation first, the foundation for customer experience excellence. So that means that you need to have a clear vision and strategy on customer experience that is aligned with your business. You need to have an organization in place that is really accountable for customer experience. And I'm not talking about giving an accountability to the marketing head or just a person, a manager. It needs to be a strong person at the top that is equal to other C-level. And that person needs to have an organization below him that works with other departments as well in order to improve. And the third thing in the foundation first is you need to have a common understanding what customer experience means because, like I said, it touches upon the front, middle, and back office. Is an organizational thing is big. So for foundation first, and also when we talk about CX, you always need to couple it with economics behind. So CX is not a nice thing to have to say, okay, I want to improve CX and I measure the NPS. You need to manage it with quantifiable economics behind. So increase in revenue or increase in customer lifetime value or decreasing in cost even. Like it has to relate back to metrics that can easily be managed through monetary value. And the third thing is companies that were really successful or are successful, they are ready to invest because it's not only just changing journeys and you think you're there. It's about the whole operating model behind that you need to transform. So you need to invest in digital. You need to invest in new capabilities that you currently maybe don't have. So capabilities such as customer experience people or capabilities in terms of data analytics. So there are different kinds of capabilities that you need to redefine that are needed in the future and that you need to acquire. So those are the three key success factors.
Thank you, folks. I like to pose the next question to Kun Thosapon. In your opinions, what are the key challenges that organizations face when trying to improve the customer experience, and how these challenges be overcome, and what the strategy should organization adopt to achieve success in this area?
Okay, so in terms of challenges that I have seen in my experience, I'll put it this way. I think that there are three things, right? The first thing would be something that quite align with what folks just mentioned is about like people see CX as silo. So most of people seeing CX as a job of like chief customer experience officer or chief marketing officer. But in fact, this is not. They need to be aligned. Everyone in the organization need to have the alignments, right, on that. Second one is on the measurements. Measurement is about like how, whatever you did in terms of try to improve, you need to be able to measure it. Whether or not you are in line with what you plan to do, or something like you lag behind, or something that you need to be able to identify what are the next action without the right measurements in terms of like customer experience itself, even though about like the DRI, the monetary value that you try to get from that is the key. And without this, there's the biggest challenge to convince anyone in the organization to continue to do so. And the last one is the continuous improvement or continuously improve on the customer experience. People tend to stop once they got the first project done, got the first CX achievement done. But in fact, or in reality, your customer or consumer change over a period of time, and whatever you did in the past might not be relevant anymore. You need to do it consistently and try to understand more and more about your customer, not just stop once you're done on the particular milestone that you plan to reach. So overall, if you would like to achieve the better customer experience, I think the whole organization need to have the clear view on how we can drive a single customer experience across the board, mean from front office, middle office, and back office, and then everyone see the same thing, right? I got one of the example that the people on the CX side try to improve their customer experience on their new mobile app, try to launch. And then they got a feedback and requirements going back and ask the development team, hey, can you improve the display or changing some technical part in order to make customer feel better or more comfortable to use the app? And quite a few times the technical guy might say that, okay, something that's not possible at all, and then you don't see any further suggestion or recommendation on a similar thing that they probably can help improve the customer experience. This is something that we normally see when we start having this kind of conversation, try to improve customer experience. Yeah.
So thank you, Kun Thosapon. I think I'd like to supplement both of you based on my experience as well. I think the challenge is when our organization would like to use a data-driven approach, fundamentally it's foundation on the data, right? And some observation sometimes, the question is who owns the data? Because when we talk about the data, sometimes we think about the technology team, IT teams, right? But it really, you see the dynamics of the digital ecosystem and bring in the inside and outside the data. We see the business should own the data because they have more front line with the customer. They have more better understanding interaction with the customer. So that links to the people side that Phuc mentioned about the position who lead on the customer experience. My observation, they also have the data team also under them because that will help create the business value, right? And that business value is important when we talk about the use case and measurement, right? If you're not able to measure the success with the business value, it's really hard to get endorsement from the leadership to move on the customer experience. So I'd like to pose maybe the final question for our panel discussion today. What should be the call to action for organization to take from this discussion? Maybe I start with Phuc first. What's the call to action, Phuc?
So a call to action, I would say start right now if you haven't started yet. It's never too late. And for example, what we see within, because we're doing this survey for year after year already, right? So when you look at the rankings, you see a lot of movements, but it means that a lot of if you're a company and you're serious about customer experience and you do something, it means that you can get results very quickly by doing this. So you can leapfrog very quickly as well. So even if you don't do anything, but if you start doing something, you can be you can get results very quickly. So don't wait too long. The customers can change very quickly as well, their mindset and how they think about a brand. So nowadays, if you don't do something, your competitor will do. You can't be behind.
So thank folks. Do it now. I think I will say that. Kun Thosapon, what is call to action that you can think of and share with the audience?
Okay, so I think in the same way like Phúc mentioned, right? So do it now, but how? So I think one of the giveaway I would say, rather than just using your internal information or internal thought or internal resource to do what to do, so try to learn from your neighbors or your competitors or other industry what they did successfully. From the case that I shared, there are quite a lot of success story that you can learn from it, and then bring it inside your organization, and probably you tailor-made on your own version of like pretty much the same success, and then you have tons of things, tons of action in order to move forward your CX to the next level. Yeah.
Thank you, ครับ คุณ Thosapon. I think I can take this as a learning from others, and for me it very makes sense, because as a customer you not only consume one particular product and service and brand, you have the connected with the many brands, right? So if you learn from what they did good in other brands, you can come back and improve experience connected with your customer as well, because it's same target groups. So for me, the call to action in organization, I know that we are busy. We have a lot of project and BAU. So prioritize, I think, is a key word for me. How we should prioritize, if we like to go to the customer experience excellence, we need to prioritize the use case that we think is most impactful to your organizations. It could come from perspective of the cost, perspective of the revenues, but you need to embed it with the customer experience. So that should be the call to action that we would like to post for the audience. So I'd like to move with the last 10 minutes less to the Q&A session. Let's us pull the question that we collect so far and see how we can respond this. So we would like to try to pick the few questions to answer. And we do our best to respond to the most commonly asked question. And we will send the remaining question along with the video record or after the email post event. And meanwhile, we also would like to request our audience to provide the feedback that's displayed over the screen. We have embedded the questionnaires so that we can learn the feedback to give, and we can learn how to improve in the next future webinar. And also the questionnaire also incorporate the question that if you would like your brand to be part of the corrective brand in our upcoming KPMG customer experience survey in this year, please feel free to do so and let us know. So let me go to the question that we can pick up from the webinar events. So number one, okay, the team helped me select it. Or maybe คุณ Thosapon. Some challenges that the company might face when using the data-driven in customer experience. Can you share a bit about some challenges about this data-driven customer experience?
Okay, so the challenges when start using the data-driven approach to drive the CX, right? So I think that one thing is actually go to the top of my mind actually is the data quality, right? So I believe every single organization at this moment, they have a very good data infrastructure, but one of the things that I actually found is common issue for many organizations is the quality of the data. It might not be good enough for you to do the advanced analytics, or sometimes it might be quite misleading in terms of interpreting the value of the data. Once you do like further analysis or further analytics, then it's become a bit, I would say, sometimes I say like you are poisoning your organization with your bad data quality. So this is one of the biggest thing that I see. Yeah.
So thank you, ครับ คุณ Thosapon. Maybe the second question I asked folks. The question is about, can you give us some success story about the brand adoption, of the 6-pillar framework that we share?
Yes, actually most companies we work with on CX, after they adopt the 6 pillars because, of course, a lot of measurements are done already within companies. So they measure CSAT, NPS, but that is more at the at the overall level. They've seen that if they break down customer experience like we do it in terms of like the 6 pillars, you can measure many more things and at different touch points as well. So once we do a transformation with a client, there's always a framework that we leave behind in how to measure the customer experience, because that will eventually need to impact the core key metrics for a company in terms of revenue or cost savings or increase in customer lifetime value. So what we normally do is defining KPIs at the high level, and then below that there will be a lot of KPIs that will help them achieve those bigger KPIs. And then we go into the level of the 6 pillars.
Thank you, folks. Probably I leave this for the last question. I try to combine interesting question. One is talk about how company can track the correlation between customer experience to improve the satisfaction and loyalties. And then this, let me take this one. I think I'm sure that the customer-centric organization already have the customer satisfaction surveys. And in order to make kind of, I would say, measurement and make it more kind of learning from others, one thing is frequency of conducting the feedbacks. And nowadays with the digital ecosystem connected, right, you not only have the one time off that you can collect the feedbacks. One thing that I think is important, as we are the customer as well, the moment, I think the moment is important. If you pick the right moment, people are willing to give the feedback because they really want to tell you what they feel, right? So let's go back to revisit about the journey, I think, to define where is the moment, the right moment for your customer. Right? It could be different from each different customer as well. Another question that I think is interesting as well is about the people. There are so many technology and tools to help the get data-driven customer experience, but the people behind, I assume this means the people in organizations still behind. You talk about the mindset. It needs to have the customer experience mindset. And from KPMG perspective, what can be done to improve the mindset of customer experience in organization? Maybe Phúc is something that you would like to take it?
Yeah, I think in every transformation, people is the most important part because you can design very quickly your processes or journeys, but eventually it's the people that have to execute everything. So the whole change management becomes very important. The whole culture change, like people need to be all aligned on how to. They need to understand it first, and then we also need to align with what are the changes. So change management is really important with any transformation. I agree with this one. This is the people mindset and the people change. How do you manage those? And also another thing that's very important when we talk about customer experience is employee experience as well. Like you need to have people within your organization that are happy, because if they're not happy and they don't experience a good experience with your company, then you can't expect them to provide good experience to the customer. So those go hand in hand. So people is a very important part.
Yeah, thank folks. I think to supplement, probably link to what Khun Thosapon mentioned about the measurement of the CX, right? I know all the incorporate, right? We have the KPI always to measure the success of your business functions, right? So how, maybe some your opinion about how to interpret the KPI and customer experience, because if it's something that people know they have to do and they're able to connect, maybe it's something to help them to make in practical way. Yeah.
So I think the Some of the thing is like the CX KPI can translate into like more customer come to visit your store, right? Or sometimes if you launch the website, it's more clicks, more access, so something like that. That you actually prove it that okay, it's easier to access, or more convenient to navigate through, right? This is something you can measure from the like say if you have the digital store, but on the physical store, it's mean more like probably you see more people, you see more happy faces in the store, or something like people like getting their friends or families to the store more and more. There's something that you see improvement after you launch some initiative. But don't forget to measure before and after. Otherwise, you have very difficult to measure how big is the improvement you see.
Thank you, Khun Thosapon. I think it back to about measuring by using the customer as a part of your measurement model, right? That's make more sense to connect the customer experience into whatever you do in organizations. So I think we end up at the Q&A session, and on behalf of the KPMG Thailand, I would like to thank our speaker today, Phúc and Khun Thosapon, for their valuable insight and contribution to the discussion panel. And most importantly, we would like to thank all of our audience today that joining our webinars. So the key takeaways: do it now, learning from others, and prioritize. So we're looking forward to have opportunity to serve you in next future seminar. So thank you so much. Have a good day. สวัสดีครับ